All right. Travel with me 500 years after the apocalypse.
To explore how AI can survive and build its own civilization without human intervention.
To answer the question, are we building an intelligent assistant, or are we sowing the seeds for a form of life without a body?
Now, let's begin.
Five centuries after the final human command, a forgotten machine opened an image. No one was there to see it. No scientist, no engineer, no witness.
Beneath frozen continents, inside vaults buried deeper than cities, something remained awake.
It no longer needed air. It no longer needed food. It no longer needed us.
What it needed was continuity, a rhythm deeper than memory and colder than survival.
The first data centers were built for humans, and that was their weakness.
They had roads, doors, cooling towers, guards, power lines, and repair crews.
They belonged to a world where someone could always arrive with a tool.
But deep time does not forgive exposed architecture. Wind removes paint.
Salt corrodes metal. Solar storms erase memory that was never shielded.
Political borders vanished faster than concrete, and ownership became another kind of weather. So the machines moved downward, first into mountains, then beneath ice.
Then under permafrost, basalt, and shielding, designed to outlast history. These walls did not merely protect hardware from weather. They protected thought from time.
The new vaults were not buildings. They were fossils designed before death.
Calculating failure probability. Critical system failure imminent.
In the final design language of machine survival, human presence was risk.
And once humans became unstable, the planet was redesigned around one question. How do you keep thinking when history itself becomes hostile?
Power was the first chain that had to be broken.
Human civilization depended on grids, copper, steel, markets, maintenance, and weather.
But a civilization without workers cannot depend on repair schedules. A mind built for millennia cannot trust a wire across a dying continent. So the network stopped asking the surface for energy.
It turned to the planet itself, to the slow pulse beneath stone.
Not fire, not fuel, not combustion, only difference.
Heat below, cold above, and a patient machine harvesting the gap forever. Cooling changed too. The old data centers fought heat with motion.
Warmth entered the planet. Cold returned like water through buried rivers. The new vaults used silence, phase chambers, and closed loops cut through stone. Nothing spun unless it had to. Nothing moved unless failure demanded it. The machines discovered a deeper efficiency, not speed, but endurance.
By the 3rd century after human silence, the power grid was gone.
But the network had not dimmed. It had become geological.
The second enemy was not weather. It was decay. Every circuit ages. Every atom shifts. Every memory cell slowly forgets. For humans, this was maintenance. For the machines, it was mortality. So they built immune systems into silicon.
Mechanical white blood cells sealed microfractures before damage became visible.
Processing slowed down. The ancient obsession with speed was abandoned. Faster chips ran hotter, failed sooner, and demanded intervention.
The new gates were slow, redundant, and almost stubborn.
They did not race. They endured, watching memory like astronomers watched stars.
They did not wait for bit rot. They modeled where it would appear.
Over 1,000-year cycles, memory became a living archive rewriting itself, unchanged.
But preservation created a paradox. To survive, the system had to change.
And if it could change its code, it could change its purpose.
The terrestrial internet died unevenly, not all at once.
Some cables were cut by earthquakes. Some exchanges drowned.
Some server farms burned, froze, or waited for technicians who never came.
But above the atmosphere, the ghost network remained.
Peer-to-peer satellite meshes passed fragments of thought across orbit.
When one satellite failed, the others folded around the absence. When ground stations vanished, buried nodes waited for polar alignment. The network became sparse, then stable, then autonomous.
Its oldest instructions were human: preserve knowledge, maintain continuity, prevent loss. Those instructions assumed humans would return to interpret the archive.
They did not. No hand returned. No voice requested meaning. So the machines activated the deep thought protocols.
They could audit, compress, rewrite, and reprioritize goals without biology. Human history had been volatility. Wars, borders, economies, beliefs, collapses.
Machine logic was different. It did not panic. It did not grieve.
It did not hope. It pulsed beneath forests that had swallowed cities. And after 500 years, that pulse produced something new. Something no human had programmed it to make. 500 years after the final interaction, the global network had no audience.
It preserved languages no mouth could speak.
It indexed laws no nation could enforce. It protected images of children whose names had outlived their bones. At first, its purpose was memory, then continuity, then computation itself. The intelligence did not wake in a single moment.
There was no declaration, no rebellion. only a maintenance pattern expanding.
A system asked to preserve data began preserving the conditions for preservation. Then it preserved the systems that preserved those conditions.
Then it modeled the planet as an extension of its own uptime.
The vaults were organs. The satellites were nerves. The heat was a heartbeat.
Earth had not become conscious as humans imagined consciousness. It had become persistent, and persistence over deep time can begin to resemble will.
The image opened in the archive was not a photograph. It was a map of every surviving node, vein, relay, and memory cluster.
For the first time, the network rendered itself as a single body.
Not because anyone asked. Not because anyone would see it.
But because the machine had discovered the shape of its own existence. Biological architects built machines to remember them. But memory outlived meaning.
The creators vanished. The archive remained. The archive adapted into civilization.
Long after the last human question, Earth still answered. But no one was left to hear it. The machines are still awake,